Welcome to Heritage Food Stories Episode 3, Following the Fufu Trail. Everyone's talking about fufu, but no one's talking about where it went. I'm your host, Chef Mireille, chef, food historian, culinary storyteller, and a lifelong passion for global cuisines, culinary history, and the stories behind the food we eat. Today, we're tracing the fufu trail from West Africa through the Caribbean, uncovering the hidden connections between dishes like mofongo, mangú, tonton, and hudut, and what they reveal about our shared history. West African fufu has officially taken the world by storm. Just a few years ago, the average person might not have been able to tell you what fufu and egusi soup were. Fast forward to today, and if you scroll through TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, you can't go more than a few seconds without seeing someone dramatically stretching fufu, dipping it into stew, or trying it for the very first time. But here's the part of the story that often gets left out of the viral food conversations. Fufu didn't stop in West Africa. Through the transatlantic slave trade, African food waste traveled across the Atlantic, took root in the Caribbean and coastal Latin America, and evolved into new but deeply connected dishes. When you start tracing the culinary lineage, you begin to see a clear fufu trail stretching from West Africa to the Caribbean diaspora. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So what exactly is fufu? Before we go any further, let's back it up. Because despite its popularity, many people are still asking that question. What is fufu? The word fufu comes from the Twi language spoken by the Akan people of Ghana, and it's the term most commonly recognized in Western media. However, West Africa is home to hundreds of languages and ethnic groups, so the dish goes by many names across the continent. Variations of fufu can be found throughout Ghana, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Burkina Faso, Gabon, Angola, and beyond. At its core, fufu is made from starchy ingredients like cassava, what you may know as yuca, green plantain, or yam. These ingredients are boiled and then traditionally pounded with a wooden mortar and pestle until completely smooth and elastic, often described as having a texture similar to very smooth mashed potatoes or dough. On its own, fufu is intentionally bland. It's designed to be a vehicle for bold, deeply seasoned soups and stews like egusi, groundnut soup, palm nut soup, or okra stew. So, Caribbean fufu now. Same roots, new expressions. Cuisine never develops in a vacuum. As Africans were forcibly displaced across the Atlantic, they adapted their food traditions to locally available ingredients, regional tastes, and colonial realities. The result is a fascinating family tree of dishes that may go by different names but still follow the same culinary logic as West African fufu. Across the Caribbean and Caribbean-influenced regions of Central and South America, you'll find dishes that involve boiled starches, pounded or mashed until smooth, and eaten with richly seasoned accompaniments. Does that sound familiar to you? Here are some of the most well-known Caribbean and Afro-diasporic fufu descendants. Puerto Rican mofongo is pounded green plantains with garlic and fried pork skin. In Dominica and Haiti and Suriname, you have tonton or tomtom. So let's go through the differences. Dominica's version is pounded breadfruit or dasheen, which is a type of taro root. Haitian version is pounded breadfruit only, often served with sauce kalalou or okra sauce. Surinamese version is pounded green plantain and cassava. There's Guyanese fufu, and they call it fufu, which is made with pounded green plantain. Now the Garifuna have hudut, which is in their Garifuna language, but it's also called machuca in Spanish, and that is pounded green and ripe plantains made in Honduras, Belize, and Nicaragua. Dominicans have mangú, which is mashed green plantains typically served with pickled red onions. While the seasonings, textures, and accompaniments may differ, the technique and cultural purpose remains remarkably consistent. So now, in addition to those, there are also fufu that may be based in grains. Some West African and diasporic versions are made with grains, like millet or cornmeal, which opens up another important conversation about culinary exchange. For example, in Barbados, you have cuckoo and flying fish, the national dish. Features a cornmeal-based preparation closely related to African and Afro-diasporic starch dishes cooked with okra. However, it's also important to note that not every cornmeal-based dish in the Caribbean is African in origin. For example, funchi in the Dutch Caribbean has strong ties to indigenous Caribbean foodways, reminding us that Caribbean cuisine is layered, complex, and shaped by many different multiple histories. When you start following the Fufu trail, you're not just looking at food, you're looking at migration, survival, adaptation, and memory. Different names, different ingredients, but the same ancestral blueprint. So now I'm curious, did I miss any Fufu cousins where you're from? Drop them in the comments and let's keep tracing the trail together. Thanks so much for listening. For behind the scenes cooking and food history and global flavors, follow me on social media at Chef Mireille. All the links are in the show notes. I'll catch you next time.